Hi, I'm John, author of The Cabin Owner's Manual and author of The Business of Owning a Rental Cabin. Today we're going to talk about something the guests asked me about driving in the mountains. We were in Shagbark, which is a very mountainous region. It's a gated community, and there's, I think, 240 some odd properties inside Shagbark, 17 miles of road. It's been around, I think, since the 80s, and it's got some beautiful views, some beautiful cabins. But one of the things that you need to know in Shagbark is that it's got some steep driveways. So the lady is from Ohio, and so she asked me about driving up and down the hill, how to keep from wearing your brakes out. The long and the short of it is you want to use the gears in your vehicle. What that means is if you're driving a straight shift, you want to put it down in first or second gear. If you're driving an automatic, you want to put it down in, depending on what your vehicle is, low or first gear, and let it just go down the hill. Now what that does is it lets the engine rev, and the engine works as a, I'm going to use the term brake. That's not technically true, but what it will hold the vehicle back easier. Rev 2,500, 3,500 RPMs getting going down the hill, and then all you have to do is pump the brakes. Whenever you start getting going a little faster than you want to, just push the brakes and then let off. And then you let it go down the hill, push the brakes and let off. And then drive a little farther and push the brakes and let off. And what that does is that saves your brakes from overheating, from burning up. I can tell you, as a former mechanic, that if you overheat your brakes, you can warp the brake rotors, which causes a lot more problems. And so, more or less, you're just going to try and let the engine and the transmission slow the vehicle down as you're going down the hill. Obviously, you're going downhill if there's adverse conditions, if it's raining, or if it's snow, or if there are leaves on the road. Many people don't know this, but wet leaves on a road are as slick as ice, and so you have to be careful, because if you're going downhill, you've got that momentum going forward. It can carry you over the side. Now, I say that, and I'm not trying to scare people. It does happen. It's very rare because most people are reasonable and they understand. But I will tell you, to save your brakes from going out, or to save your brakes just to make them last longer, use the gears. Put it down in low gear. Let it run. Don't worry about being in a hurry. If somebody's behind you pushing you, just let them be behind you. It's no big deal. That's their fault if they want to go fast. You just slow down and take it easy. That's one of the tips from driving in the mountains. It has worked for us. We pull machines in here all the time. We drive in and out with machines behind the vehicles. So it works for us. I will tell you this. Funny story. We were working in Shagbark. We were working up on top of the ridge. It was beautiful up there, and we were cutting some trees, and we had hauled in a heavy-duty chipper. It probably weighed about 8,000 pounds, and we were chipping up a bunch of trees, making them into mulch. Well, about lunchtime, a front moved in, and it dropped from about 40 degrees to about 12 degrees. It was raining at 40, and then it dropped to 12 and started snowing, and everything turned to ice. And we're on top of the mountain trying to get down with this heavy-duty chipper behind the vehicle. And I started driving, and I noticed that it was pushing me down the road. So I did not continue. I stopped, pulled over, parked. Fortunately, I have a friend of mine that owns a couple deuce and a halfs, the old military trucks, and so I called him and said, "Hey man, why don't you come up here and pull this down for me?" So he came up here, hooked a deuce and a half to the chipper, hauled it down the hill. He put that deuce and a half in low gear, and it never even knew the chipper was there. So it does come in handy sometimes to have a heavy-duty machine in the mountains. Unless you're hauling a chipper, you probably don't need to worry about that. But I will tell you, if the conditions are adverse, you may be better just to wait. You don't want to risk injuring yourself or others, and the loss of the vehicle, loss of knocking trees down, and different things could happen. So obviously the trees are not as important as human life, but trees are valuable, and they do hold erosion back, and that can cause damage further on down the line for the road that's beside them. So Anyway, there's a lot of factors to think of, but that will just give you a real simple trick that you can do when you're driving in the mountains, is just use your gears. And if you get to the point where it's not as steep, you can go up to second gear or third gear, and just as long as you feel like it's a comfortable, safe traveling, use the gears. But then I will tell you, when you get down to the main road, make sure you put your car back in if it's an automatic, put it back in drive or overdrive, because it will burn a lot of gas. We have done that several times. So obviously, if you have a four-wheel drive, that's something else you can use, is put the car in four-wheel drive in low gear, and that will slow it down even farther. So that's just a couple tricks for you. Learn how to drive in the mountains, have a safer, more fun, more enjoyable trip here in the mountains. Until next time, have a good day.